Well, good afternoon, and thanks for having us in. I'm Tom Hansen. The city of Sioux Falls is celebrating significant growth in 2022. The population grew by more than 6,000 people last year, bringing the estimated population to nearly 209,000 people. In response to that growth, construction is also up. Building permits issued in 2022 totaled a record $1.9 billion. Now, that's a 75% increase from 2021. We'll take a closer look at all of those numbers and find out what they mean to the future of South Dakota's largest city tonight on KELOLAND News. One of the big topics this year in Pierre is the state of South Dakota's corrections system. Today, Secretary of Corrections spoke with legislative panel about overcrowding and staffing issues. Secretary Kelly Wasco told lawmakers that the prisons are able to recruit workers, but they struggle with high turnover rates. This year, the Department of Corrections is also asking the legislature for funding for 2 new facilities, a new women's prison at Rapid City and a new men's prison. Turning now to look at your midday forecast with Brian Karstens. And Brian, what's going on out there?
Well, in weather today, kind of a mixed bag of stories. First of all, I wanted to bring this view up from Gregory. We've had quite a bit of fog that's been developing or shifting around that area of south central South Dakota. So continue to watch for that. Obviously, it's impacted some of the conditions here in the far southwest South Dakota. Then closer to Sioux Falls, we've had just enough wind. And if you've driven out in the countryside, you know that some of these rural highways, you'll encounter some blowing snow. There's been some icing conditions in spots. It's kind of variable depending on how things line up on those shelter belts and those types of things. So continue to watch for the wind. Let's check our visibility map here at midday and see where we're at. And right now it's that winter area down to a 1/4 mile visibility. At times we've seen that also down into the Pine Ridge vicinity. So it'll kind of go back and forth here. Temperatures at midday too. A lot of the readings have been holding steady today. We're still at 22 in Sioux Falls. That's about where we were early this morning at 4:30 when we went on the air. We also had temperatures in the teens in the northeast, and that's about where we are now. Rapid City, 34. Well, I do expect today the wind speeds, as we check in with that, 15 to 30 across much of southwest Minnesota. And we'll see that diminishing overnight tonight. I'm expecting things to be pretty quiet as we get into tomorrow. And that's some good news. We could use a nice warm up, and we will get that in western KELOLAND. So here are your highs today. About 40 Rapid City, 33 Phillip, 31 in Pierre. We'll have more weather details coming up in a few minutes.
Thank you, Brian. From the unveiling of the B-21 bomber to his bill repealing 11 federal laws that discriminated against Native Americans, 2022 was a successful year for South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds. And today he joins us live on the set to look ahead to 2023. Thanks for being here, Mike.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
You know, the House has struggled to elect a speaker. There seems to be some division within the Republican Party in the House. How does that impact the Senate working with the House, and how does that impact the Senate?
I think more of the discussion will happen Republicans versus Democrats with regard to the budget process. I really like what the House of Representatives has proposed in terms of one subject matter per bill. That's a positive move for our country, getting back to the way that I think our founding fathers wanted in the first place. The appropriations process, now that they've got basically 6 months in which to actually create an appropriations bill, that's normally 12 separate bills. I'm really eager to see whether or not they're able to accomplish that. That would be a positive move coming out of the House. In the Senate, we've already committed, our chairman over on our side have committed to try to do the same thing. Whether or not the Democrat leadership in the Senate will allow them to bring 12 separate bills, or if they try to put them all together into one package, again, will be part of the discussion. I'm hoping that as a compromise, we can perhaps do 2 or 3 at a time. That's something that could fit into the Senate timeline.
So people across the country following the story of Republican George Santos, and he's accused of fabricating a lot of stuff. Where do you stand? Should someone like this be in Congress?
Well, first of all, the Senate won't have a say in this particular matter, but I think the Ethics Committee in the House will be looking at it. And I think that the fact that there are some questions about some alleged campaign finance violations might come up. If that's the case, and once again, we don't know whether they would charge him with anything, but if they did charge him with a violation of law, that could be grounds for removal by the House of Representatives. It'll be their choice as to how to handle it, but at the least, I would suspect that there will be a move to keep him off of some of the more sensitive committees, such as the Armed Services Committee, anything to do with national intelligence, or anything in which there is confidential material being discussed.
Let's talk about the Family Small Business Taxpayer Protection Act. Maybe let people know exactly what it is and what it means to South Dakotans.
Sure. This is the bill that the House has passed, which basically would say that these 87,000 tax cops and auditors that are now part of the IRS, these new 87,000 of them now, basically it's worth about $71 billion over a 10-year period of time. These are the folks that are going to be auditing Americans. And I know they originally talked about them auditing rich Americans, but the bottom line is they're planning on doing 1.2 million audits per year. And they're talking about 700,000 of those being done on people that make less than $75,000. That's bad. And so I sent a letter to Senator Schumer today requesting that he take up that bill. That bill just passed the House. This would be a really good way to bring people together to say, time out. The American people don't need these tax cops coming and knocking on their door right now. Let's save the money. Let's not, I mean, let me share with you just one more thought about just exactly how big this actually is. 87,000 new tax cops is more individuals than what are employed at the Pentagon, the State Department, the FBI, and Border Patrol combined. So to me, this is a no-brainer. This is something that we really ought to take up in the Senate. The House, it was the first bill they passed. It's a good one for us to take up as well.
All right. One last question before we take a break here. But what should South Dakotans be looking for this year in the Senate? What will you be focused on?
Well, me personally, I'm going to be looking hard at what we need to do to continue to promote the B-21 stealth bomber. For Ellsworth Air Force Base, for Western South Dakota, this is huge. We've got 6 of them in the production mode right now. We're going to eventually produce 100 of them. We included in the omnibus this year, and I know sometimes people are wondering why we voted for that. There's $5 billion in there for the continued development of the B-21 bomber. And there's almost $250 million in additional money for actually funding the construction of the projects on Ellsworth Air Force Base. We want to see that come through to fruition. The Department of Ag's bill, the authorization bill for the Farm Bill, is coming up this year. John Thune's on the committee. Dusty Johnson's on the committee. We really want to see mandatory country of origin labeling be included in that, and we need to get a safety net included in that as well. Those are some pretty big items that I hope we're able to do in the Senate this year. And there's a few other things I'm sure that are going to pop up along the way as well.
All right. Senator Mike Rounds, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it.